Listen to me very carefully, for what I am about to reveal will save you years of torment, uncertainty, and wasted energy. For over a decade, I have studied the psychology of human behavior, age-old wisdom, and the dynamics that govern interpersonal relationships. There are 5 specific expressions that, when uttered by a man, reveal his true motivations so clearly that ignoring them is like ignoring a smoke detector in your home. These aren't trivial red flags. They're psychological control strategies disguised as common dialogic exchanges. Once you've identified them, you won't be able to help but notice them everywhere. Stay with me until the end. The 5th is so subtle yet so destructive that 99% of women can't even recognize it. But before continuing, please like the video, share it with people who might benefit from it, and let us know in the comments which city you follow our YouTube channel from. The 5th, as we said, is very important, and it's probably the most valuable lesson you'll receive this year to safeguard your vital energy. Before exploring these 5 crucial expressions, you must understand something that will radically transform your approach to every interaction with the male universe. The vast majority of women have been raised to always give the benefit of the doubt, to see potential rather than accept the present reality. This impulse to repair rather than protect is so deeply ingrained that we've lost our innate instinct to recognize soul predators. Yes, that's exactly how I define them. Soul predators who employ targeted language patterns to test your defenses, lower your expectations, and make you question your own worth. The ancient Chinese wisdom of Shi Heng Yi teaches us that words carry energy. When someone speaks to you, they're not simply transmitting information. They're transferring their inner state, their true intentions, and the level of consideration they have for you directly into your personal energy field. This is why certain conversations leave you feeling completely drained, disoriented, or full of questions, even when you can't pinpoint exactly what went wrong. Your instincts had sensed the energetic signature of manipulation, but your rational mind was trying to explain it logically. What I'm about to share isn't just advice for romantic relationships. It's a form of energetic protection that will safeguard not only your heart, but your entire life, because no one ever talks about this enough. The man you choose to welcome into your life doesn't just affect your romantic life. He influences your career, your friendships, your relationships with family, your self-perception, your financial future, and even your physical condition. If you make a mistake in your judgment, you'll invest years of your precious existential energy trying to recover from the damage you've suffered. Choose wisely, or better yet, learn to recognize and immediately distance yourself from those who don't deserve you. By doing so, you'll create the space necessary for something wonderful to enter your life. The first expression that should make you run away, not just push you away, is when a man says, "You're overly emotional," or similar variations, as if overdramatizing or exaggerating. This phrase represents pure psychological manipulation, designed to make you doubt your perception of reality. When a man dismisses your emotional reactions as disproportionate, he's not commenting on your sensitivity. He's revealing his inability to engage with a woman who recognizes her own value and expresses her authenticity. Here's what really happens when he says these words. He's testing whether you're willing to sacrifice your emotional intelligence to meet his needs. He's probing whether you're ready to shrink to make him feel more powerful. A man who's genuinely interested in you won't ignore your emotions. He becomes curious. He asks questions. He listens. He tries to understand your perspective even when he initially disagrees. When a man tells you that your natural emotional responses are inappropriate or excessive, he's essentially telling you that his well-being takes precedence over your authentic expression. The most subtle aspect of this expression is that it plants the seeds of insecurity, which gradually develops. You begin to question every feeling, every intuition, every moment of intuitive awareness. You begin to constantly monitor yourself, wondering if you're overreacting. Again, this is exactly what soul predators want. They want you to disconnect from your internal guidance system, because your intuition is your only defense against their manipulation. Women who have experienced this type of invalidation often find themselves, years later, having to rebuild their relationship with their emotions. They have lost touch with their true feelings because they were trained to believe their feelings were wrong. This represents energetic violence and manifests itself in relationships everywhere, because we've normalized it as typical male behavior. But I'm here to tell you that evolved, conscious men don't act this way. They understand that a woman's emotional depth isn't a flaw to be corrected, but a quality to be honored. The second phrase that should scare you away is, "I'm just telling the truth," or "I'm just telling you the truth." This is especially true when it follows a cruel, unnecessary, or deliberately offensive remark. This phrase is a manipulative tactic designed to make cruelty appear a virtue. When someone uses honesty as a weapon, they're not being sincere. They're abusive and trying to make you feel grateful for their abuse. True sincerity comes from love and genuine concern for the other person's well-being. It's delivered with gentleness, compassion, and consideration for the appropriate moment and context. When a man says something deliberately offensive and then hides behind the pretense of simply being sincere, he's revealing that he either lacks empathy altogether or takes pleasure in causing you pain and wants to blame you for it. I've seen this pattern systematically destroy women's self-esteem. He'll comment on your appearance, your intelligence, your dreams, your friends, your family, everything that's ever meant anything to you. And when you tell him his words have hurt you, he'll act as if you're the problem because you don't appreciate his honesty. This creates a psychological trap where you begin to believe that love means accepting cruelty and that asking for kindness makes you weak or needy. The truth is, a man who loves you will naturally want to support you, not tear you down. Yes, sometimes difficult conversations are necessary in relationships, but they must be done thoughtfully, with the intention of strengthening the bond, not diminishing you as a person. When someone consistently uses honesty as an excuse to be cruel, they're showing you that they don't care about your well-being. He's more interested in asserting his supremacy than in building true intimacy. What makes this expression particularly dangerous is that our society has conditioned us to value honesty over kindness. For this reason, we often feel we should be grateful when someone is frank with us, even when that frankness resembles emotional violence. But here's what I want you to understand. You can have both sincerity and kindness. In reality, true honesty without compassion isn't sincerity at all. It's simply cruelty masquerading as virtue. The third expression that should set off all the alarm signals in your system is you're becoming possessive when you express a limit, a need, or a concern about their behavior. This is gaslighting in its purest form, and it's designed to make you afraid to assert your rights in the relationship. When a man labels your reasonable requests as possessive behavior, he's training you to stop asking for what you need. I want to be very clear about what boundaries really are. They're not control, they're not demands, and they're not punishments. Boundaries are simply what you need to feel protected, respected, and valued in the relationship. When you say things like, "I need you to let me know when you're going to be late," or "I'm uncomfortable with the way you spoke to me," or "I need us to spend time together," uninterrupted, you're not exercising any control. You're clearly defining your standards. A man who responds to your boundaries by calling you possessive is revealing something fundamental about his character. He believes his freedom is more important than your peace of mind. He's showing you that he views your needs as impediments to his comfort rather than essential information on how to love you. Well, this isn't the basis of a healthy relationship. This is the basis of a dynamic where you gradually lose yourself in an attempt to avoid being labeled as too demanding. What happens to women in these situations is heartbreaking. They begin to downplay their needs, minimize their discomfort, and accept treatment that contradicts their values, because they believe that having standards equates to exerting control. They begin to boast about being easygoing and accommodating, without realizing that they're actually abandoning themselves to please someone who doesn't value their well-being. Here's what you need to know. A man who truly loves you wants to know your boundaries because he wants to respect them. He understands that your boundaries aren't limitations on the relationship. They're the framework that allows trust and intimacy to flourish. When you feel confident expressing your needs without being labeled or ignored, you can actually relax in the relationship and present yourself as the most authentic and loving version of yourself. Men who accuse you of being possessive because you have boundaries are the same men who will take advantage of you if you don't set them. They want complete access to you, offering you the bare minimum in return. They desire the benefits of a committed relationship, without the responsibility that comes with genuinely caring for another person's heart. The fourth expression is perhaps the most subtle, but equally destructive. "I'm not ready for a relationship," or "I don't want anything serious right now." But here's the crux of the matter. He's saying this while acting as if you're in a relationship. He contacts you constantly, spends most of his free time with you, introduces you to his friends, maybe even his family, shares intimate details of his life, and creates all the emotional intimacy of a committed relationship, while explicitly telling you that this is not the case. This expression is emotional manipulation disguised as sincerity, designed to give him all the benefits of having you in his life, without any of the responsibilities that come with actually choosing you. He can get everything without giving anything in return. He receives your emotional support, your physical affection, your time, your energy, and your loyalty, while retaining the freedom to leave whenever he wants without feeling guilty because he told you from the beginning that he wasn't ready. What makes this particularly devastating is that it puts you in an impossible position. If you stay and accept the situation, you essentially accept being undervalued and treated as an option. If you express a desire for more, they may invoke their previous disclaimer and make you feel like you're the one who changed the rules. If you walk away, you feel like you're wasting something that could potentially become real if you just waited long enough. But here's what I want you to understand. When a man wants to be with you, he truly wants to be with you. There's no uncertainty. There are no not ready, not sure, or let's see how it goes. When a man recognizes your value and wants to secure a place in your life, he acts with intention and clarity. Men who keep you on hold in a relationship have no doubts about what they want. They know exactly what they desire. They want you to be available without having to fully commit. This dynamic is particularly painful because it keeps you emotionally invested while systematically eroding your sense of self-worth. You begin to believe that you're not worthy enough to be chosen completely, that you have to prove your worth by accepting less than you truly desire. You begin to see commitment as something you have to earn rather than something you deserve simply by being yourself. The most insidious thing is that these men often feel genuine interest in you. They enjoy your company. They're attracted to you. They might even love you in their own limited way, but they care more about their own freedom and options than about your happiness and security. They'd rather keep you in an uncertain situation than risk losing access to you by being honest about their intentions. Now we come to the fifth and most dangerous expression, one that's so subtle that most women don't even recognize it as manipulation until years later, when they're trying to rebuild their self-esteem. This expression is, "You've changed," but not in a good way. It's said with disappointment, in an accusatory tone, with the insinuation that the person you're becoming is somehow worse than the person you were when he first met you. This expression is heartbreaking because it's designed to make you abandon your growth, evolution, and authentic self to return to a version of yourself that was more comfortable for him. When a man criticizes you by saying you've changed, he's revealing that he's fallen in love with your ability to meet his needs, not your ability to become who you're supposed to be. Here's what's really happening. You're growing, evolving, setting boundaries, pursuing your dreams, speaking your truth, or simply becoming more confident. And instead of celebrating this growth, instead of feeling proud to witness your evolution, you feel threatened by it. Why? Because the version of you he preferred was smaller, more manageable, more focused on him, and less focused on your expansion. This expression is particularly devastating because it targets your most vulnerable point, your need to be loved and accepted for who you are. When someone you care about insinuates that your growth is a betrayal of who you truly are, it creates a psychological crisis. You begin to wonder if becoming more yourself is worth the risk of losing love. You start to wonder if you shouldn't downsize and return to the size that feels safer for him. I've seen women abandon their dreams, their friendships, their career goals, and their personal growth because a man made them feel like their evolution was somehow selfish or wrong. They stop going to therapy because he says it's changing them. They stop pursuing their passions because he preferred their attention to be more focused on him. They stop setting boundaries because he preferred them when they were more accommodating. But here's what you need to understand. Deep down, a man who truly loves you doesn't just accept your growth. He supports it. He's thrilled when he sees you becoming more confident, clearer about what you want, more connected to your purpose. He understands that your growth doesn't threaten the relationship. It strengthens it because you're bringing more of your authentic self into the connection. When a man criticizes you for changing, he's essentially telling you that he preferred you when you were less than you could be. He's admitting that his love was conditioned on your willingness to remain small. This isn't love. This is possession. This is a person who wants to possess you rather than adore you. The most heartbreaking thing is that women often interpret this expression as proof that they've done something wrong, that they've betrayed the relationship growing up. They feel guilty for wanting to become more themselves. They apologize for taking up more space, for having clearer boundaries, for pursuing their dreams with greater intensity. They begin to view their evolution as a selfish act rather than the natural progression of a healthy, conscious human being. Now that you know these 5 expressions and their true meanings, you might find yourself sitting there experiencing a complex mix of emotions. Perhaps you're recognizing recurring patterns from your past. Maybe you're seeing your current relationships in a new light. Maybe you're feeling angry that no one taught you this before. Maybe you're grateful that you learned it now. All these feelings are valid, and I want you to honor everything that comes your way. But here's what I want you to understand. This information isn't meant to make you cynical about love or suspicious of every man you meet. It's about developing discernment, the ability to distinguish between people who genuinely care about your well-being and those who are primarily focused on what they can get from you. It's about learning to trust your instincts when something doesn't feel right, even if you can't immediately explain why. The truth is, there are men in the world who will never say these things to you because they understand that love is about creating security, not testing boundaries. There are men who celebrate your sensitivity because they recognize it as emotional intelligence. There are men who communicate difficult truths to you with kindness because they truly care about your feelings. There are men who respect your boundaries because they understand that boundaries create intimacy, not distance. There are men who commit to you clearly and enthusiastically because they recognize your value. There are men who love watching you grow because they understand that your growth enriches the relationship rather than threatens it. These men exist, but you'll never recognize them if you're busy rationalizing the behavior of men who don't appreciate you. You'll never attract them if you accept a treatment that goes against your instincts. You'll never build something beautiful with them if you exhaust your energy trying to heal someone who isn't interested in getting better. Here's what I'd like you to do with this information. I want you to start paying attention to how you feel after talking to the men in your life. Notice whether you feel energized or drained. Notice whether you feel valued and appreciated or confused and belittled. Notice whether you feel encouraged to be more yourself or pressured to be less yourself. Your body keeps track, and your energy doesn't lie. Start trusting your initial instincts instead of trying to convince yourself they don't exist. If something seems strange in the first few weeks of meeting someone, it probably is. If you find yourself making excuses for someone's behavior or trying to convince yourself that their words didn't mean what you thought they meant, be careful. If you notice yourself modifying your personality, goals, or standards to accommodate someone else's comfort, this is valuable information about the dynamic you're creating. The most important thing is for you to understand that walking away from people who don't appreciate you isn't cruel. The self-love. It doesn't mean giving up on love. It means making room for true love to enter your life. Every moment you spend trying to convince someone to treat you well is a moment you're unavailable to someone who would never dream of treating you badly. The right person for you won't ask you to shrink, explain your worth, or accept crumbs. The right person will immediately understand your value and act accordingly. She won't need any convincing to choose you, because choosing you will be the most natural thing in the world. I want to share with you something that has completely transformed my perspective on relationships. Your boundaries aren't walls that keep love out. They're doors that let the right kind of love in. When you clearly communicate what you need to feel safe and appreciated, you're not being difficult or demanding. You're clarifying the conditions under which you can present yourself as the most loving, generous, and authentic version of yourself. However, people who oppose your boundaries are not the people you want in your life. The people who celebrate your boundaries, who ask thoughtful questions about how to respect them, who make changes in their behavior because they want you to feel good in their presence. These are your people. These are the people who understand that love isn't about taking everything you can get. It's about creating an environment where both people can thrive. Every time you respect your boundaries, you teach others how to treat you. Every time you walk away from someone who ignores your needs, you're making a statement about your value that resonates in every area of your life. Every time you choose yourself over someone else's comfort, you're building the foundation for relationships based on mutual respect rather than unilateral accommodation. It's not about becoming harsh or closed off. It's about being clear and intentional about who has access to your energy, your time, your body, and your heart. It's about understanding that your love is precious and should be given to people who recognize its value, not those who take it for granted. Here's the last truth I want to leave you, and this might be the most important thing you'll hear today. You are not responsible for healing the people who have hurt you. You're not responsible for teaching people how to love you properly. You're not responsible for putting yourself in situations that diminish your light just because someone else isn't ready to take control of their own power. Your job isn't to be so understanding, so patient, so forgiving that you lose yourself in the process. Your job isn't to love people and transform them into better versions of themselves. Your job is to be authentic, honor your needs, trust your instincts, and create a life that aligns with your deepest values. The love you seek is seeking you too. But he can only find you when you stop settling for less than you deserve. He can only recognize you when you're fully yourself, not when you pretend to be smaller, easier, or more comfortable for someone else. So, the next time someone says one of these 5 expressions to you, I want you to remember this conversation. I want you to take a deep breath, believe what you know to be true, and make the choice that honors your worth. Because you deserve a love that makes you feel free, not a love that makes you feel imprisoned. You deserve a love that celebrates your growth, not a love that punishes it. You deserve a love that treats your sensitivity as a gift, not a love that treats it as a burden. Distance yourself from anyone who makes you doubt your worth. Walk toward the people who celebrate it. Your future self will thank you for having the courage to choose yourself. Even when it's scary, even when it seems difficult, even when it means abandoning a potential that never truly existed. The right love doesn't require you to sacrifice yourself to receive it. The right love will make you feel like you're coming home, without leaving you behind. Trust this, choose this, and never settle for anything less.